The lion cub lost its mother and grew up with a dog. They were inseparable now. It was a quiet night in South Africa's Kruger National Park when everything changed. All that could be heard were the chirping crickets and distant cries of nocturnal animals. Then, Ranger David Miller heard a faint cry that didn't sound like any animal he had ever heard. As he shone his flashlight through the tall grass, he saw something. Lion cubs that age never leave their mothers. The signs told a sad story, evidence of a struggle, and worse, signs of illegal activity in the area. The cubs' cries grew weaker with each minute. After 15 years working in wildlife rescue, David had never felt time pass so slowly. He knew this tiny fighter had only a few hours left to live without its mother. With no trace of the pride and hours left until dawn, David made the toughest decision of his career, to take the young lion away. It was home. "I'm so sorry, baby," he whispered, gently wrapping the lion cub in his jacket. But he promised that this was not the end of their story. David had no idea that this moment would lead to one of the most remarkable friendships between an animal and a human. When David returned to his truck, he knew that every minute mattered. His hands shook as he started the engine. The tiny bear lay still in his jacket, breathing barely audibly. The rescue center was far away, a 40-minute drive on dark park roads. "Hold on, baby," David said. He had never driven so fast before. He called the rescue center on the radio. "I have a lion cub here. He's not doing well. Please be ready." "Doctor?" Sarah was waiting when they arrived. She saw how sick the cub was and said to bring him inside quickly. They took the cub to the emergency room, a warm room where sick animals were treated. The bear cub was really in need of water. His tiny body was so weak that he couldn't even cry anymore. The team worked together as a family, each person contributing to the cub's salvation. They gave him special water through a tiny tube to help him get stronger. They decided to name him Leo. While David and Sarah cared for Leo, the other rangers searched for his family. They were greatly upset by what they found. They saw tire tracks on the ground and empty bullet casings. Bad people, poachers, had been there. They took Leo's mother, leaving him all alone. For 3 whole days and nights, the team stayed with Leo. Every 2 hours, someone gave him warm milk from a bottle. But Leo was still so sad he cried and cried, missing his mother's warm fur and the beating of her heart next to him. It was then that Maria came up with an idea. She said, "Hey, what about Ruby?" Ruby was her golden retriever who loved children. Maria suggested that Ruby could be Leo's new mother. The team thought it was a great idea. They trained Ruby to be a surrogate mother to Leo. She learned to provide warmth and comfort for him. Ruby became a loving mother to Leo, and he finally felt safe and happy again. Just after giving birth to puppies, she was the sweetest dog anyone had ever seen. She looked at Leo as if he was one of her own puppies. They carefully placed Leo next to Ruby. Everyone watched, ready to intervene if something went wrong. But Ruby started licking Leo's face, just like she would with her puppies. And Leo, he snuggled into her warm fur and fell asleep, finally feeling safe. Sarah couldn't believe what she was seeing. In all her years of helping animals, she had never seen something like this. "Just look at this," she whispered, trying not to wake them up. It seemed that Leo had found a new mother. Nobody knew then, but this was just the beginning. This lion, cub, and this little dog were about to become best friends, and their story would make people smile around the world. Right from the start, Ruby showed what it means to have a mother's heart. She didn't care that Leo wasn't her puppy. She saw a child who needed love. Every morning, Ruby would check on Leo first, even before her puppies. She would gently poke him with her nose as if to say, "Good morning, baby." At first, Leo was shy around Ruby's puppies, but they were curious about their new brother. One day, Buddy, the smallest puppy, brought Leo his favorite toy. Leo looked at Buddy, then at the toy, then back at Buddy. Everyone watched in anticipation. Then, Leo reached out and hit the toy with his paw, and the ice was broken. Soon you couldn't tell Leo from the other puppies except that he had a golden coat instead of a fluffy brown one. He learned to play like a puppy, chasing balls and tugging on toys. Sometimes, his lion-like nature would come out, and he would try to sneak up on his toys like prey, making everyone laugh. Watching him eat was the most enjoyable part. Though Leo had his own bottle of milk, he would always try to suck from Ruby's, just like her puppies did. Ruby never objected. She would lay there patiently, letting Leo think he was drinking milk so he could feel like one of her babies. Nap time has become a family affair. The puppies would all lie down in a pile to sleep, with Leo nestled in the middle. It was pure love, a love that didn't care about what anyone looked like or where they came from. Maria, who had first suggested the idea, said it best. Love speaks its own language. Ruby and Leo may not speak the same language as the puppies, but their hearts do, and sometimes that's all that matters. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Leo was no longer the tiny, scared cub. He grew into a young lion, growing bigger and stronger every day. One thing never changed, though. His eyes lit up every morning when he saw Ruby. Although Leo had grown taller than her, his love for Ruby remained constant. Still, he acted like a child. He would follow her around the reserve's courtyard, trying to match her small steps with his big paws. The funniest thing was that Leo couldn't decide who he wanted to be, a dog or a lion. At first, he would chase balls like his dog siblings. Then he would practice jumping like a lion. Sarah, one of the caretakers, would enjoy watching Leo try to copy Ruby's actions. When Ruby would bark at the birds in the sanctuary, Leo would try to do the same, but instead of barking, he would make a funny noise that was a mix of roaring and growling. Ruby would look at him with patience, like a mother watching her child learn new things. At feeding time, Leo would now eat meat like a growing lion, but he would always wait for Ruby to eat first, something he learned from being around her. Ruby would look at him knowingly, proud of his good manners as a child. Sometimes, Leo would even try to share his food with Ruby, pushing the best pieces towards her with his nose, just like she had shared her food with him when he was little. Was the most surprising thing about Leo's behavior during the examination. Most young lions need medication to calm them down, but not Leo. While Ruby was nearby, he lay quietly and allowed Dr. Sarah to examine him, without any fuss or resistance. Ruby stroked his thick mane with her paw, and Leo remained calm throughout the entire process. The shelter staff began to refer to Ruby as their secret weapon for medical examinations, as the games were always interesting to watch. Leo had learned to control himself and remain calm during these procedures, thanks to Ruby's presence and calming influence. His growing strength around Ruby and his dog siblings, he knew exactly how rough he could play without hurting anyone. When they played tug-of-war on the big ropes, Leo almost always let Ruby win, even though he could easily pull the rope if he wanted to. Sometimes visitors to the reserve would stop and look, not believing their eyes. There was a big, strong lion who was playfully playing with a dog half his size. The baby animals pressed their noses against the viewing glass, watching in amazement as Leo gently tapped Ruby's tail or affectionately nuzzled her. The staff at the shelter had never seen anything like it before. As the animals grew older, most of them were separated from their fosters, but Leo and Ruby's bond grew even stronger. When storms came, Leo would still run to Ruby for comfort, curling up as close as he could to her, even though he was barely big enough to fit next to her anymore. One of the most enjoyable things was spending time in silence together. In the yard. Afternoon, they lay side by side. Ruby's head rested on Leo's mane, which was growing. They didn't need to do anything else. It was enough just to be together. This showed everyone that family doesn't mean being the same or even having the same appearance. It's about love, simple and pure. David, the ranger who had first found Leo, often visited them. "You know," he said, watching Leo and Ruby doze together. Some people might find it strange that a lion and a dog can be best friends, but when you see them, it seems the most natural thing in the world. He learned to be gentle with her. Whenever Ruby stopped to sniff something interesting, Leo stopped too, pretending he was interested in whatever had caught her attention. He still copied everything his mother did, just like when he was young. The way they talked to each other was amazing. Ruby barked and wagged her tail, and Leo responded. The lion cub purrs and rubs his head, but they seem to understand each other perfectly. When Leo gets too excited, Ruby needs to make a soft sound, and he calms down immediately. When Ruby is tired, Leo gives a gentle purr, and she snuggles in his thick mane. In the afternoon, they have what the staff call comedy hour. At this time, Leo plays like a dog, although he's actually a huge lion. He brings Ruby his favorite toy, which is now a big rubber ball, instead of the small ones he played with when he was a cub. It's funny to watch him try to get the ball. He chases after it like a dog, but his lion instinct kicks in and he pounces instead. They love to take a nap in the shade in the afternoon. They have a big platform where they sleep together, and Ruby often uses Leo's mane for a pillow. Sometimes she even asks him to brush his mane and make it smooth, like she used to when he was a little one. And Leo simply lies there with a happiest expression on his face and purrs so loudly that you can hear it from far away. Maria, who still works at the shelter, says it best. People often ask us if Leo knows that he is a lion and not a dog. Of course he does. He's a lion with a mother that was a dog, and if you ask me, that makes him the happiest lion in the world. The story of Leo and Ruby is not just about a special friendship, but it shows us something greater in the wonderful world of animals. When visitors to the sanctuary see them together, their eyes often fill with tears. If a lion and dog can love like family, then perhaps we humans can learn something from that, the sanctuary team says. The team uses their story to teach people about how smart and sensitive animals are. When children come to the sanctuary, they are surprised to learn that Ruby understood exactly what little Leo needed: love, comfort, and a family. This story shows us that animals, like people, can experience love, sadness, happiness, and even understand when someone needs help. However, there is a more sad aspect to Leo's story. He ended up in the shelter due to poachers taking his mother away from him. Every year, many young animals lose their families this way. The shelter workers use Leo's story to emphasize the importance of protecting wild animals and their habitats. They tell visitors that although Leo was fortunate to find Ruby, it is best for young animals to stay with their natural families in the wild. Leo and Ruby have become excellent teachers at the orphanage without even realizing it. Their unique bond helps people understand why it's crucial to save wildlife. Young visitors often leave with a desire to help animals. Some even come back years later as volunteers, recalling the lion who grew up thinking he was part dog. The entrance to the sanctuary. There are pictures of Leo and Ruby, reminding everyone of their importance. Ruby and Leo are two very special creatures. They have a special bond that transcends all boundaries. They are not just animals. They are a family. As the sun sets over the reserve, casting a warm glow over their favorite spot, Ruby and Leo find comfort in each other's company. Their large and small frames rest against each other, their eyes half closed in contentment. They simply enjoy being together, without any fear or judgment. Some people may say that animals don't experience true love, but watching Ruby and Leo is proof that they do. Their actions and behavior show that they care for each other deeply. They don't worry about their differences or the natural instincts that tell them to fear one another. They know that they are family, and that is all that matters. Years have passed since the terrible night when a tiny lion cub was left alone in the dark, but now that cub has grown into a powerful lion. He is still just as gentle and loving as he was when he was small. Ruby and Leo continue to provide him with love and support, no matter what. Their story reminds us that love knows no boundaries, and that kindness should not be limited to certain creatures. It is something that should be shared by all living things. The most beautiful lions you've ever seen, but in his heart, he's still just little Ruby, and she's still his mom. Their story reminds us that sometimes the most beautiful families aren't what we expect. You know, their incredible bond touches hearts every day at the sanctuary. If you're moved by their story, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could use a smile. Subscribe to learn more about other amazing animal friendships that prove love knows no limits. And by the way, let us know what you think makes Ruby and Leo's special relationship so unique.